All right, episode 13.
Yeah.
So let's get this out of the way right now. You have had an extraordinary amount of people want to have a YouTube type listening experience for this podcast.
Yeah.
Which we're going to attempt this. Very, very basic.
We're just like dipping a toe into it, right? Like super. Yeah.
At some point, yeah, that'd be great to get first. Let's say this.
Are you going to look at the camera? Like you're going to make eye contact with the...
I'm looking at the camera right now.
I like
because
that.
because I'm speaking to the people who
Okay.
maybe
Who have asked for
listening / watching this.
Yeah.
You're going to notice some things if you start looking real closely at the video. And this is, I want to just get this out of the way. I've heard this before that, it's a big new thing. I don't know how new it is, but it's a big thing for people in relationships to maybe send kind of suggestive, let's just call it suggestive photos to each other.
Okay.
And there's a big difference between guys and girls in their viewing experience. So the male is usually noticing the female, and the female is usually zooming in on everything in the background of the picture.
Let's see what's around. Context clues.
Except looking at the male. So
Okay.
So for any I don't know if I should say this for any females watching, but yes, these are the boxes that the microphones came in that we're have these posted on. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, the lights might go out at some point.
They will go out. Not a maybe. They definitely will.
We have these lights over this table. When they get to a certain temperature, they go out, we think.
Yeah.
We think
that, yeah.
The thing about it is Jackson came in proudly a few weeks ago before he found out about the lights going off and said, "Man, those lights are still up that I installed when I was younger."
When I was younger, you guys, that was when I was in high school. It was one of my first, I can do that. Mom bought some sweet lights, and they're really, I like the feel, the warmth. And so I installed them, and they've been here for all those years still.
So anyone watching, if we go into semi-darkness, the answer is yes. What you're experiencing, that is correct.
Uh-huh.
They will come on at some point again.
They will. They do. They just come back on it whenever. I don't know.
And then, then lastly, whatever you see in the background, this is kind of a work table, and we push everything out of the way to put podcast stuff on. So
here we come. This is where Rooster would sit with his box. Yeah.
We're very aware of that.
We know. This is not an attempt to come in and do hot and heavy on our very first YouTube premiere with like this amazing setup. It's like, no, you've heard the stories how where we grew up and how we grew up. And maybe down the road,
It would be nice to have a dedicated studio space at some point, but this is what we got. So everyone, yes, we know. We're aware of it all.
You can comment your joy and your happiness over it if you find some humor in it. But yes, those are scraps of cloth down there.
Yeah. I mean, but can you zoom in on YouTube? Maybe if it's on a phone, I don't know. So maybe you won't be able to zoom in and look at the background.
But we're here, so you can see. Something that I think is going to be cool about the YouTube experience is that we love the listening platforms. That's awesome. But the cool thing about YouTube is that you can comment immediately. So it's a kind of a quicker way and a kind of a nice pipeline to be able to communicate.
And the cool thing is Jackson really likes people to see him on YouTube. So
no, come on.
Yeah. So really quickly, why don't we start off so anyone that doesn't want to know on YouTube how to find not only this wonderful video, but also all your previous wonderful videos.
So you're going to find this, if you're listening on the podcast platforms, just through the audio, you're going to want to go to Wild Wild West. That's the name of the YouTube channel. And I think I can do it. I'm just going to create like a separate playlist within my channel for podcast episodes. So you can go to the channel, check it out. You'll see podcast episode, whatever. And you can watch. So Wild Wild West is the name of the channel on YouTube. This will be on there along with all of our other weekly adventures that we do.
And the other thing is, we edit the podcast episodes.
Yeah.
The YouTube, as of now, won't be synced up with our audio or edited.
Right. So they'll probably get the raw tracks for YouTube. So if we have the the in-between stuff, which you're pretty good at it. I have a lot of it. I'm trying to get better at it. You're very concise. I'm a little more wandering. And those of you that watch my YouTube will know. But this will probably get raw audio, and the podcast will actually have an edited little different version on the audio platforms.
Speaking of that, do we need to make a loud sound to sync up the audio for the video? And
I don't know.
Well,
is that a thing?
Like I've heard, movies like take one.
That's the clip thing. That's why they do
clack. That clack. I've heard, and I don't fully understand this, but I've heard that clack is to have a definite point where you can sync audio and video together. So if you're trying to put the audio tracks to the YouTube, you're not if you're trying to read lips, you're not. It doesn't look like we're talking a different language.
Okay, so go ahead. There you go.
There we go.
They got it.
That probably should have done the very first, beginning before we even started talking. You are hot and heavy in fall run. I think I say this every episode, but it really is getting deeper and deeper. Harder and harder to get together.
Yeah. And this was a miracle again, you guys, that it worked out. We were going to try to get together last night. Didn't work. It's just too late. But my loads got all messed up today. So it's hard in the fall run because a lot of places, so you have two different kinds of loads, okay? And I'll just kind of walk you through the load sourcing. So the first kind of load that you're going to get in the fall run is people that have purchased their cattle months ago. They made a contract with these ranchers, let's say back in August. And they said, okay, on November 1st, we're going to ship our calves. They're going to weigh 600 pounds, and we're going to sell you 100 of them. So that means a 60,000-pound load. So the buyer calls you and says, hey, this is what I've purchased. I need a truck that's this size that'll fit this load. And about half the time, the calves come in and they weigh what they're supposed to. The other half of the time, they don't. So you could show up and they might say, hey, the calves were actually 620 pounds, but we still want to sell 100 of them. And so they go, we got way more weight than you planned on when the buyer called you. So you have to juggle that around. You load what you can. The reason that we're able to get together today is because I showed up to load some cattle out here close by your place that were supposed to weigh, the load was supposed to be 55,000 pounds, is what we'd figured on. So I showed up and I go over to the corral where they're working the cattle, and I talk to the buyer there that's doing the deal. And he's like, oh man, we got a big old load for you. And I'm like, okay. And most years I'm the man, because in years past, I've run what we call an 8-axle rig. So my cow trailer has 4 axles, and my truck also has 4 axles, which is like the biggest of the big. So when they come over and say, I got a big old load, you're like, sweet. That means you get more money to go where you're going. Well, this year I've had some trouble procuring the right size trailer because I put a driver, Cody, we talked about him last time. He's driving that truck for me. So now I'm in like a baby truck. I can only haul about 56,000 pounds. So I'm like, well, hopefully it's not like too big. What do you mean a big load? Come over here and look. So he shows me the numbers, and it's almost 66,000 pounds, which for the setup that I have, I mean, I would be so overweight that it's not even funny. And to add a little bit of to this, a little sketchiness, the DOT in Rapid City, South Dakota this year have done something never done before in the history of all DOT in South Dakota. They're patrolling the interstate like at midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, pulling over cow trucks and weighing us. Now, they're within their rights to do that because that's their job. But that's supposed to kind of be like the free hour. Like if you're out there moving cattle at 2 a.m, doesn't matter what state you're in, it's kind of, you're supposed to, it's like an unwritten rule that you're like, go ahead, do your thing. It's the middle of the night. Just be safe, be prudent. But they're out there picking out guys off left and right. So I can't even confidently say that I'm going to make it without getting a big old whopping ticket in South Dakota. So where's that put me today? I'm like, and this was kind of shameful for me. It's kind of like I had to put my hat in my hand and tell him that I can't haul.
It's like that Johnny Cash song, I hung my head.
Yeah. Hung my head and cried. And I did. So I'm like, Jerome, I'm sorry, man. I'll take 60,000, which is still very overweight. It's kind of a middle ground, right? And they're like, man, the contract and this was a deal where like 5 different people brought their cattle together to make one load, kind of like the sheep deals that you do. So he's like, I mean, how do you decide who gets shorted on the cattle? They've all brought them in, and this is what they're expecting to sell. So thankfully, I had a truck sitting down in Billings that's big. Old Keith Williams. He's a farmer, and he's good. So I called Keith and had him come up and take my load. So now I'm kind of homeless on the load front. So I have some leads on a good load for tomorrow, I think, for myself. But that lands me here at your place with nothing but time. I'm legal. Keith's going to be legal, and we'll go.
And you'll show up tomorrow, and same thing over again.
Same thing over again. I've said that before, I think, where it doesn't matter. Like, you can get a truck that can haul any. It doesn't matter.
It's always
more. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this is a time to maybe reach out to that South Dakota governor. Is it Kristen Noem?
Oh, Christy Noem. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She'd probably be on top of that. Like, your guys are out here headhunting.
I mean, she seems pretty un-American. Seems pretty un-American to pull cow trucks over in the middle of the night.
Right.
And she seems to have, for the past few years, done her own thing in South Dakota.
Right.
What if she's the one sending him out?
It would be like, I would feel like it's a scandal.
Yeah,
that would be like a scandal. Because like any cow truck, like you guys don't understand out there hauling cows. If you haul cows out there, you're just nodding your head right now. You're like, oh yeah, one time. I know you have a story where you're like one time or multiple one-time stories, but we're never. It's like it's not fair. There's so many different things. Like, what are you supposed to tell the rancher? Like, well, sorry, you spent the last 7 months raising this calf, and because he's 20 pounds heavier than you thought he was going to be, you just have to keep him. Sorry. Like, it's not fair to the ranchers. It's not fair to us to pull us over for helping the ranchers out and moving things down the line. But
yeah, this is when they did those electronic logbooks.
Mm-hmm.
Am I incorrect in remembering that Hollywood truckers were exempt?
Ooh, that's a good question. But I bet you're right.
I really feel, and anyone listening, feel free to confirm or correct this. But I feel like there was everyone was pretty, and this was just a few years back, wasn't it? The new logbook or something?
It seems like a few. I think it's been like 5 or 6 years ago now.
So it was going to be stressful for the cattle hodlers again.
Right.
But I feel like I remember reading that this was applicable to all truckers except truckers who were hauling basically movie set, things associated with the movie industry. They were exempt from this, and this had been lobbied by whoever the Hollywood lobby is.
Yeah.
So their drivers were exempt from this.
See, and they're in a similar boat to cattle haulers, because they'll go out, drive to some movie set, and then they sit there for hours and hours and hours just sitting by their truck. They're on duty, so their clock's running, but they're not doing anything. But that's funny. Doesn't it seem like Hollywood kind of gets exemptions like that from a lot of...
Well, so back to my point is that it seems that as much as politicians like to proclaim how much they are supporting farmers and ranchers, you hear this quite often on both sides of the aisle, that this would be a very simple way to support them by not hammering the people who are literally hauling the product for these ranchers to make their money.
Right.
Because like you say, you cannot go and tell a 600-pound calf versus a 620-pound calf.
No, you can't look at it and tell.
No,
way.
absolutely not.
No.
I mean, how heavy does that have to be before you start to notice where you go, oh, that's more than 600, 650, 660?
Yeah, 50, 70 pounds, and you start to, oh yeah.
Maybe that's a little bigger, but so like you say, for a rancher to have contracted for 100, 600-pound calves, I mean, you can't do that. And you contract for a general time date, don't you?
Right.
So if you have late moisture and your pastures pop up.
Like this year. That's the case this year, right?
So calves put on a bunch more weight right at the end of the season here. So you got to pull your calves off the pastures. Oh, no, you're 580 pounds. We can't get, we need to slow down the intake.
Yeah. No.
So you pull in there and you leave 10 calves behind.
And then this year, the market's gone down. So since they contracted, the market's really slumped. I mean, 30, 40 cents a pound. So it might seem like, well, no big deal. Just keep 10 off. Be legal. Well, yeah. Well, you just lost them guys, $150 a head on those cattle that didn't get on the truck. And then the last kicker that really, this is what really drives me nuts with all regulation. So they'll pull you over and they'll weigh you. And they're like, you're way overweight. You're like, well, yeah, what'd you expect? Because I was going to be underweight? Well, let me go back to my truck. And they work things up and they come back and they give you a ticket and charge you $300 to $600. And then they send you on your way. So you're like, hold on. Now, what's the whole point of this? Is it for safety? I mean, honestly, what's the point of this? If it was for safety, you can't let me go. Like, you have to have me go stop somewhere and get legal. If you think I'm some road hazard, that my wheels are going to fall off for being, 3,000 pounds overweight on my front of my truck. But they let you go. They take the money and then they let you go. So then you sit there and stew the rest of the night and just are like, that's not about safety. Because if it was, you'd have to fix the situation because it's unsafe. It's not about that. Which just irks you a little more when you're out there. You're trying to help everybody, and then you're the one that loses whatever $500 for the overweight ticket.
Yeah, this might be a thing to organize in some way for cattle hauling exemptions.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever noticed that most Americans' problems almost have a root cause of 3-letter organizations? DOT, IRS.
Yeah,
that's true. As of late, CDC, FDA.
Isn't that interesting? I never put that together.
Huh. I mean, it's, man, beware of the three letters.
3-letter acronym deals. Ooh.
Hey, there's going to be some listeners who have no idea what logbook means and how you're talking about Hollywood or like cattle haulers that your logs are when you're on the books. Yeah. Talk about what logbooks are for a second.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick rundown. Essentially, it's all trucks are regulated in how many, or drivers, I should say, not the trucks themselves, but drivers are personally regulated in how many hours that you're allowed to operate, being they call it on duty or driving. So if we boil this down real simple, and then there's little intricacies, and don't call me out for these little intricacies, but I'm going to give you just the general rundown. So basically, you can work a total of 14 hours in a day if you're a truck driver. Of those 14 hours, you're only allowed to drive for 11. That's the maximum. 11 hours a day is the most you can drive. Those other 3 hours that get you to 14 are the hours they give you, like for loading your truck or unloading your truck or fueling up, but no more than 14 hours. One of the only industries that are regulated this way where they put a stop on how long you can work. And the proponents of limiting your hours of service, we call it, or hours of driving, are, they say that's for public safety, or, personal and public safety. So I always wonder why, like, you hear about like doctors doing like triple shifts in the hospital and like going nonstop, and they can't see straight, and they've got people cut open and like doing surgery on them, like after they've been going for forever and ever. So it's another just like a funny little like, huh? But certain industries, the reason this is problematic is because you load cattle on your truck. I can't get anywhere in 11 hours of driving. It usually gets me about 2/3 of the way to where we need to be. And so, and it's been this way for years. Cattle haulers just have to run, whatever you want to call it. They have to fudge their books. They have to run illegally or whatever. And there's just no way around it. And it's one of the things that we've always been frustrated with in our industry of livestock is, why can't you just change the rules so we can do it legally? Like, we've been doing it safely for years and years and years. Like, it's obvious. You know, sure, you have a few wrecks here and there, but it's no different than the rest of the industry. So just change the rules so we can be legal. Let us drive 16 hours straight and then make us take, you know, an extra couple hours off than the rest of the truckers do. But like, give us a way to make it work. And they have, I will mention this, they did, this is weird. This is like the one thing that came out of the infrastructure bill they passed was it December last year maybe? All the big multi-billion-dollar deal. They put in a thing there for livestock haulers where we get our first 150 miles, air miles, we get free basically, and our last 150 we get free. So put a dot where you're loading and draw a 150-mile circle around it on each end, and you don't have to come on duty driving until you get out of that bubble. So that's helped a lot. Like this morning, for example, I drove out to the ranch and then I sat there for hours. Well, legally, my clock's ticking. So by sitting there on the ranch, I drove 20 miles to get out to the ranch this morning. My clock started when I left the truck stop. And then I sat there for 4 hours before I realized they needed a different truck. Those 4 hours count against my 14. Even though I wasn't doing anything, I already started my day by driving. So that these 150-mile circles help you for things like that. They go, okay, well, you don't have to consider that as on the clock anymore, which is it's a step in the right direction. But anyway, that's kind of generally.
So where
speaking.
you said that, like Hollywood truck drivers, they might be sitting on a movie set, not driving, but they're on the clock.
Yeah.
So that's why they would probably push for an exemption like that.
Yeah. And you brought up this point once, like you start messing with, people's Amazon packages, like you're going to start getting some fire. You start messing with people's movies and like entertainment and streaming ability to stream Netflix, you're going to get some people fired up. So that didn't surprise me, that Hollywood would have an exemption.
It's an interesting, I don't know if dichotomy is the right word to use, but it sounds like a cool word, so I'm going to use it right now.
Yeah.
There's this dichotomy. Anyone, by the way, that if you're watching, we're drinking Jocko Go, and anyone that follows and listens to Jocko, he talks about dichotomy. I think he wrote a book called
really?
The Dichotomy of Leadership, but it's a cool word. I don't even know if I use it correctly, but it's a cool word.
It's cool to say.
So back to what I'm saying here. You could understand why they would have logbooks for safety reasons. I mean, you can logically think through, okay, if you're having people who are tired driving, you would have an increased incidence of wrecks. Okay, so we understand why we would do logbooks.
Right, 100%.
But like everything, there's exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a semi-trailer full of live animals, you can't drive a certain amount, then stop until you can get back on the clock again. Drive, stop,
right,
with a trailer full of animals. So this is where I said it's a dichotomy. You've got the safety issue on one point for the logbooks. You've got the animal welfare safety on the other side. I recently was talking to a big sheep guy here in Montana about sheep hauling, some things we were kind of messing around with, and he was talking about how hard it is to find drivers who can haul and handle sheep well. And he was talking about an experience he had where a driver that was supposed to be a real good sheep hauler was picking up some sheep from one place. I don't know if it was in California or if it was in Oregon, and bringing them to Montana. But his first pickup of sheep, the sheep didn't come off of the truck for about 3 days. The ones that were initially loaded, because he was
making some.
He was doing things that he probably shouldn't have. He was picking up cows and dropping off cows, stopping overnight, bouncing around, all this stuff. And this is a little bit on the extreme end for that many days, but the guy I was talking to said, yeah, there was a lot of talk that he probably should have been reported to law enforcement for animal cruelty.
Yeah.
So
right.
You've got the logbook side where you can only drive for so many hours, but you've got the animal welfare side on the other side of things. And of course, you're going to have people say, well, they shouldn't even be hauling livestock anyway. It's okay.
Right.
Okay, cool. We got that.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, people have to eat, and this is
right.
what we do in America to eat.
Yep.
So it's going to happen. It has to happen. So, like you say, change the rules so it's done legally, and we not worried about it.
It's like my dream. Like, can I just haul legally for once someday? Yeah. I had to put in my logbook that I slept for 10 hours with cattle on my truck. Everybody has. Anyone that's hauling livestock's had to do that, and you're just like, oh, this is such a dumb game. It's a game because you're like, yeah, I parked for 10 hours with a load of bawling calves in my trailer. Like, nope, didn't do that, but you have to say you did. Otherwise, yeah, it's annoying. But
and then if you actually do, you might be you might be have charges filed for animal cruelty,
and that's no longer a misdemeanor. That's those are felony charges nowadays.
So I guess what we're saying is cattle haulers, you're going to be illegal. You're going to run into trouble on
no matter
one way or another.
Right. Oh man, something that cattle haulers really struggle with, especially young cattle haulers, and everyone has one of these stories. Again, one time. There's so many of those one-time stories. In the early days, see, when you load cattle, you got to really push. You really got to drive, and you go. You sit down for 16, 18 hours, and you got to go. We do sleep at night. We don't drive straight through. So say 4 o'clock in the morning rolls around, you go to bed from 4 till 7 or whatever. Take your 3-hour nap and get up and drive the last 4 or 5 hours in. And everyone has had an issue of oversleeping before, and some are worse than others. But you drive, and you're so proud of yourself for pushing. You're like, man, I just drove till 4 a.m. And I think that's people's biggest question is like, how do you stay up? Like, how do you do that? And so you're so proud of yourself. You're just rolling there. You find an exit ramp somewhere, and you pull off, and you're taking your nap, and you set your phone alarm, and you take your nap, and you wake up, and it's like 9 in the morning, and you're like, oh, you just have like this panic. You're just like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And you're like, the sun's up and it's shining and there's cars driving by, and you're just like, and you look at the clock and you're like, I set my alarm, and you look, and sure enough, it's yeah, you did set it, but you just conk right through it. You sleep through it. So some guys have different ways. They set 3 or 4 alarms, or some guys will subconsciously turn them off, like in their sleep, and go back to bed and have actually shut it off without realizing it. So some guys are like, no, I leave it up on my dashboard, so I have to like get out of my bunk and kind of be cognizant of what's going on to shut it off, and then I go. But I haven't seen one of these devices in a long time, and it really made me laugh. I was in Belfouche, South Dakota, and I went inside, and they have on the bottom shelf of a little display rack deal with all kinds of trucking supplies, there was this alarm clock called the Screaming Meanie. And I don't know what they have inside it, but it's like they've developed some way to like send supersonic, ultra blasting, like you like feel it, you see it, you hear it. And I mean, it is so loud, and it's designed to wake up, these poor old cow truckers. And I've gotten in my personal career to where I don't have to set my alarm anymore. You just have so much on your mind. You don't sleep very good, and you wake up and whatever. But I saw this Screaming Meanie, and I don't know if any of you guys have actually used the Screaming Meanie, but I have used a Screaming Meanie before. But it was long before I ever started trucking. I mean, I hadn't even taken the wheel of old Rooster's cab over, not even once yet. And I got a hold of a Screaming Meanie because Rooster had bought one on the road. And I bet he wouldn't even remember this. But he comes home from a truck trip from South Dakota. Maybe that's like a South Dakota thing. That's where Dad bought his. That's where I saw this one for sale. But it's like the size of like your wallet, like this wallet, like my cowboy wallet. It's about that size, and it has no functions other than just you set the alarm, and when it goes off, I mean, it wakes the dead. And it, like on the cover of it, it's like 6,000 decibels, same sound. It like compares it to all these different, like a jet fighter taking off, the front row of a rock concert. You know, you can imagine Billy Mays doing like an infomercial for it. And so Dad brings one home. I think more of as a novelty than actually like, oh yeah, I used the Screaming Meanie. And so, of course, we had it at the feedlot, and we're playing around with it. And this was during the summertime when we were irrigating. We were flood irrigating the alfalfa over there at the feedlot. And this kind of is cool because it speaks to the work ethic that kind of we had crammed into us when we were young. But you order that water, and you only have so much water each year, you know, and you deal with that here where you just have a certain amount. And then when your allotment is done, you're done. So if you're slow at moving your water, you're going to run out of water sooner, right? Anyway, we started thinking like, you know what? So normally the way it works is you move the dam down the ditch every couple hours, right? And, you know, it waters that portion of the field. You come out 2 hours later, you move the dam further down the ditch. It floods the new dry spot. You move it down. And at the end of the day, you save a portion of the field where you can set what's called a night set, where you can set the dam at like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and it'll run for 10 hours and go way down the field. And then the next morning, you come and analyze, you know, what's the game plan today? Where do I need to move the dam to mop up the little dry spots that were left over from the night set? So we came up with this idea that what if we never did night sets? And do you remember that old blue half ton that Dad had? It was like an 85 Ford little half ton, had a topper on it. It was right after he got rid of that real nice pickup he had. He went from that to this old beater. You were probably...
I think I might have been gone.
I think it was right, because I remember you came home once.
I know why I was not home.
Why?
Did you ever have to do anything of significance work-wise when I was living at home?
That's true. That's true. That actually is true.
So that's how I know I don't remember.
See, now I don't put that together in my head. That's why I started irrigating, was because Luke was gone. That's funny. Okay.
So no, I don't remember that truck.
So now we've dated this truck. This truck, that would have been in like 1998. So let's say summer 1998, which means I would have been 12 years old. So we come up with this plan, me and we had the cousins around here, and we had this plan that if we stayed up all night, we could just irrigate through the night. Just take a flashlight out. No night sets. We'll get done quicker. We'll save Dad water. Bing, bang, boom. Of course, Dad's like, yeah, this is great. How are you going to wake up? Because, you know how kids sleep. He's like, how are you going to wake up, though? And we're like, the Screaming Meanie. We'll use the Screaming Meanie. So we took that old blue half ton and we backed it up kind of underneath the chute over at the feedlot, under the double-decker, and made a big tarp awning thing. And so we had like this fort, and we put a bunch of sleeping bags in the back of the pickup. And we're like, all right, we're going to do it. We're going to, all night long, we're going to irrigate. So night number one. All right. We set the Screaming Meanie like 1 a.m., right? Set it on the bed of the pickup. We go out, make our sets, come back, watch a movie, make our next set, put the Meanie where it goes, and then we go to sleep. And we sleep. And we sleep. And we got woke up eventually. But it wasn't, well, we didn't get woke up by the Screaming Meanie, but we got woke up by a person. Now, at that time, there wasn't really many people living around the feedlot, right? A few houses kind of down, you know, quarter mile down either direction. But some guy pulls into the feedlot like, I don't even know, sometime in the middle of the night. And he like investigates the situation and realizes there's a bunch of kids sleeping in the back of this pickup and this Screaming Meanie's going off. And he pulls in, he's like, hey, you got to shut that thing off. And we're like, what? So we wake up and we're, you know, 10, 12-year-old kids out there. He's like, that thing woke me up. I got my windows open at my house and we can't sleep. You got to turn that thing off. I don't know who it was. I have no idea where it came from. I wish I did. So we shut it off, but that screaming meanie was throwing sound so far that it woke some guy up in town, and he came out, like followed the sound, like I'm getting closer. And here he finds all these little kids out irrigating.
And you guys slept right through it.
Slept right through it. Didn't even, nobody. So the screaming meanie is powerful, but still no match for a sleeping 12-year-old.
The sleeping meanie, it's just like buying cigarettes. You have to be 18. You have to be 18 because you have to be an adult for it to wake you up.
Yeah, it will not wake up a kid. But when I saw that sitting in the truck stop, I was like, it just brought that memory right back. And I was like, oh boy. And we never used it again because we told Dad, and he's like, oh, Dad, don't. Just take the batteries out. Don't even use it. I don't want the neighbors getting all angry.
Oh, man. That's really funny. It's true, though, man. Kids sleep through about anything, man.
Yeah.
I wanted to swing back to something with those roving DOT guys.
Uh-huh.
I here in Montana, I see them have people pulled over all the time.
Yeah, there's tons of them.
Imagine it. I've always thought. So they're trying to enforce and achieve compliance through punishment, correct?
Yeah. Yeah,
so you're
a fine. Yeah, it's a punishment.
You're fine.
Yeah,
you're punished. So they're not just going to weigh you, but they're going to check a lot of different things to make sure your truck is up to snuff, so to speak.
Yeah.
Now again, generally this is not a bad idea because safety.
Yeah, I mean you are hurling down the highway with a lot of weight, and you're a missile. Yeah.
So I would make an argument that trucks need to be safe for being out on the road.
Right.
But it's enforced with punishment.
Mm-hmm.
You be safe or you're punished. I have thought about this over and over and wondered how much better it would be if it was enforced or encouraged with a carrot versus a stick. Here's what I mean. So in order to keep your truck within safety compliance, I'm not going to talk about weight because we've talked about within the cattle hauling, it's not realistic.
You're talking like maintenance issues, like keeping your tires proper.
So when you
brakes.
get pulled over by one of these DOT guys, are they going to inspect your truck?
Yeah.
And they're going to write you up for whatever.
Check, lights and leaks and brake shoes and tires and inflation and
check all this stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff that they're checking is going to translate into it costs you, especially an owner operator.
Right.
It's costing you money to keep your truck in compliance.
Right. And actually, if you get a violation, you sign for it, and then you have to mail back proof that you fixed it. You can't just okay, thanks. You have to mail that back before they'll clear you off.
Which you've had to spend money to fix it. Now,
right.
Anything you use to fix your truck is going to be a tax write-off.
Correct.
Okay. I think that absolutely it should be a tax write-off, but I think what should be done is it should be a tax credit in addition to a write-off. Meaning that, let's say you spend $2,000 over the course of the year directly keeping your truck in compliance. Mm-hmm. You can show the receipts. You can show, I've done this because this is what is required by law to keep my truck in compliance. So you spent $2,000 doing that. So it should be a tax write-off, but in addition, it should be a tax credit. So let's say your tax bill, we wish it was $10,000 at the end of the year. You've shown you've done $2,000 of compliance. You automatically subtract $2,000 from your tax bill. You have $2,000 of credit.
So this is way beyond, tax deductions are nice, but they're just so minuscule. A tax credit would be actually that amount coming off of your tax bill, your overall tax bill.
What do the politicians that want us to use solar energy, use wind energy, use whatever renewable energy, what do they do to get us to do it?
Tax credit.
Tax credit.
You're
tax
right.
credit.
Huh.
Tax credit. This is a tax credit. Do this, you'll get a tax credit.
Yeah.
So with truckers and trucks, instead of fighting this punishment battle where everyone hates to,
it's like the battle, man. It's like this.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Why not dangle a carrot and say, look, you do this and you keep track of it, tax credit.
Let me give you a great example just for you truckers that are listening. Air inflation systems, when they came out, basically it's a system that can keep your tires fully inflated all the time. There's some different benefits. I mean, you get better fuel mileage. If you get a nail in your tire, they can usually keep up with the leak so you don't ruin the tire. But they cost. I mean, there's a cost in the installation and all that. And so most people don't pay to have them put on their equipment because you're like, it's a lot. But if you buy it like a used trailer that has air inflation on it, you're like, hey, this is cool. So that's a great example just right there. Like you're saying, put an air inflation system on to keep your tires proper, and that would be a tax credit because that directly keeps you. I mean, those are huge compliance issues, tires and inflation. It's a big thing. So you invest the money to put that on. They designate a certain amount of tax credit for, an air inflation system is worth $1,000 worth of tax credit or whatever.
Yes, that's along the lines of what I think. Having an air inflation system is not going to be inspected, and you're not going to be dinged for that on a DOT inspection. You're going to be dinged for maybe the inflation. Mm-hmm. So that's the way to answer. So I hadn't thought of that, but I guess more along the lines of you said brake shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, so any money you spend over the course of a year on brake shoes, keeping your brake shoes intact, that money is a tax write-off because that's part of running your business. But anything directly to keep your truck in compliance, any money spent on that, a tax credit. But I think, again, I didn't know you could do an air inflation system.
Well, I'm thinking of things that would apply that would just be like that. I mean,
it would make it safer. It would help you pass inspections. So why not make those tax credits?
Right.
Because it gives drivers, and I guess I'm speaking owner operators, but I guess this will be the same for big companies as well. Mm-hmm. It's just all the more reason that you would have every reason to keep your truck in compliance. Other than a fine, you're getting a huge benefit.
Like I would want to maybe say preemptively. I mean, you should preemptively change your brake shoes anyway, but knowing that there's times where I'll do my own inspection and I'm like, oh, that brake shoe's getting pretty close, but I bet it'll run another 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But knowing that you're going to get a tax credit, be like, there's no reason to not just stay a little ahead of all that stuff. That's smart. That would be, that's a big idea.
So with that idea, I just want to let everyone know I'm announcing my candidacy for the school board at the local preschool.
There you go.
And of course you'll probably have people say, no, we can't spend that much, but come on, look at the amount of things we spend money on that are just completely
energy
wasted.
And other things. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And this is, I mean, if it truly is about safety, is there any more, I mean, these are people's lives. Is there anything more important to spend money on than safety of vehicles going down the highway? That's always their big argument. And their whole reason behind everything that they regulate is for safety. So if it truly is about safety, like, why would you not? I've never heard this. I've never heard this offered at all, or even anyone discuss it. But what a great idea, and a way to kind of help you become more like you're on the same side rather than the DOT versus the truckers. It's like, hey, DOT man, look at this thing I put on. Like, yeah, he'll be like, yeah.
I mean, you're literally having a strong financial incentive, other than a fine, because that's punishment.
And fines just make you mad. It just puts you, like, polarizes you further away from wanting to, like, do things right because you're angry.
Yeah. I mean, do it. Anything spent on that, you once a year or twice or whatever, you have a sign off by someone who can inspect to make sure everything's in compliance, and that's submitted with your
And here's
paperwork.
the other thing. I guarantee that and at some point I want to have there's a DOT officer that I know that I've kind of become friends with over the years, and I want to have him on here to just talk about some of these things. But I guarantee that any DOT officer would much rather go to your place of business and inspect your truck in a shop on concrete or wherever you do your business, even at the truck stop on asphalt, than on the side of a freeway with trucks flying by nonstop. I mean, it seems just on the surface initially here, it just seems like a win-win for everybody.
All right, so we got some political action in this episode. We
got to get moving.
We need to have
we need to
have truck drivers exempted from any and all safety regulations on the road. No, but seriously, starting to look at the trickle down effects of cattle haulers, the trickle down effect to the producers, who are the ones who. Cattle producers take the brunt of everything within the cattle market, and here is another example of the trucking regulations, roving DOT in the middle of the night in South Dakota.
Yeah,
who's the one that's actually going to end up suffering for this? It's the producer, because at some point costs are going to get passed on to the producer, or truckers are going to quit overloading their trucks, so now the producers have to hire 2 trucks.
It always
comes back to the producers.
Yeah, like high fuel prices right now, they're just outrageous.
So hold on a second.
Yeah.
You're going to say the high fuel price is going to get passed on, but I want to tell you this.
Okay.
I have been stockpiling diesel the past week.
Have you?
All my vehicles have diesel. They're full of it. I've got a couple 5-gallon cans.
Got it full?
Everything full. Because we only have like 20 days left of diesel in this country.
Did you see that story? Got you a little nervous?
I mean, I went and filled up all
your tanks, topped off everything.
Tanks. So
you're going to make it that much farther into the diesel apocalypse than everybody else.
I know you've got some thoughts on this.
So you guys, there was a story that came out very recently, and they said in essence that there's a 25-day supply of diesel until we run out. And people read that headline, and I think it created some panic and some fear out in the public and out in the world. People going, we're out. And everybody's kind of already has this on their mind because they know that the production of oil has been down, and we're scrambling and clawing, and they're trying to find oil from everybody but us. And so when they see this headline, it creates even more fear. So with just digging into this just a little bit, I kind of just realized some interesting things. So what they meant, but of course the media can sometimes, they make money on fear and fury. So people took that headline as, in 25 days, we're out of diesel, no more trucks will run. How quickly are stores going to run out of food? How quickly is everything going to go to pot? Very fast. So guys like Luke ran up to the co-op and bought all the diesel that he could, filled every can. I mean, he's set.
2 5-gallon cans.
Yeah. So you'll be good for a minute.
I'm not sure what I'll put in because everything that runs off those 5-gallon cans are gas.
Right.
But at least I've got 10 gallons of diesel if I need it.
You've got her. So you guys, what this means is that it's as simple as this. If all refining capacity ended tomorrow, just full stop, we would have 25 days worth of stored diesel around the country for trucks and commerce to continue for 25 days. And on one hand, you look at that and you're like, well, that's still not very much. But if you think about it, and I'm not going to shoot any numbers out because I have no idea how many millions of gallons of diesel that we consume each day with trucks going down the road and tractors farming and whatnot. But it's unbelievable the amount that's consumed each day. So to think that there's actually 25 days worth of actual diesel in storage tanks, that is a lot of diesel stored up. You can't store it you can't have like a year's supply of diesel. Just the amount of storage that would take is unbelievable. Because once this is refined, it's got to be kept pure, clean, crisp, so that when it goes in a vehicle, it's not going to shut it down. So anyway, it just is another example of a weird story where you're like, what? Why would you put it this way and make everyone think that the world is going to end in 25 days?
So I've seen that article, and I'm kind of joking, saying I went and got diesel.
Yeah.
Kind of joking.
Okay.
So having a year's supply of diesel on hand, we likely do not have that storage capacity.
Right.
Some of those articles, I kind of felt like it was saying, well, I don't know if I assumed this or if I read it, that this is the lowest diesel storage amount we've had in an extreme amount of time. Mm-hmm. We've been low before, but this is like the lowest it's been in a long time. So it makes me wonder what our diesel storage capacity is.
That's a good question.
If this is the lowest it's been in back to whatever year, this is the lowest it's been. I mean, we're not going to have a year's supply of diesel. Like, what would be an average supply of diesel that we have? I know, like, the strategic oil reserve, I don't know the numbers right now, but I have heard there is a kind of a good average amount that we keep, and we're the lowest we've been in that as well. But to diesel, I guess this is the first time I had ever heard that we have a diesel storage, like a how many days supply in the United States. And so I'm curious what an average.
Yeah, how does it compare? Yeah, it's a good question, and I don't know.
That article was interesting too, and I need to go back and see what some of the sources were, because this is not a beneficial article for Democrats going into midterms.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's very rare to see articles benefiting Republicans going into midterms.
Yeah.
So I wonder where this...
Yeah, it's kind of a weird... It's like a no man's land.
Yeah, but I don't know, maybe some of the things... It seems like there's a lot of economic things going on right now that do not favor the Democrats going into the midterms. And maybe let's just say the news stories that are being hidden might be bursting at the seams.
Yeah, this one just snuck out.
Speaking of a funny one, I don't know if you watched Peter Doocy. Is he the White House correspondent for Fox News?
Yeah.
And he always is kind of sparring with, what's her last name? Jen Psaki, Psaki, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, she was the previous. Yeah.
And the new one, I can't think of her name right now. But I just saw one today actually, where she had said something, and this Doocy, let me think here what he said. Oh,
it's funny because he's not like I remember I've kind of watched him grow up on the news, and he's not like, the camera goes to him and you're not like, whoa, this guy's gonna lay some fire. The camera goes over to this guy and he's like, oh, hey, I'm here to ask questions at the White House,
Okay, I remember what he said. Yeah. So he asked her, he said, the Biden administration is asking the fossil fuel companies to lower fuel prices and do this and that and do this and that. And he said, why do you think they would want to do anything you say when you are wanting to put them out of business? And she said to Peter Doocy, why would you think the administration would want to put them out of business? And he said, well, oil and gas is a fossil fuel. And he goes, and let's see here. He's looking down. I think he almost might have given the quote where President Biden had said he wants to end all fossil fuels.
It's like straight up.
And then he just stopped when he read that and just looked at her, and she looked at him, and they just looked at each other. And then she said, no more questions. She took off. She didn't even address it.
I tell you what, those press gals they've had their work cut out for them on some of that stuff.
I don't care what side of things you fall out on. That's just funny.
It's funny.
It's just funny.
You got to be able to look at that and laugh and go.
Doesn't matter what side. It's just funny. Obviously, from the perspective of where we have come with agriculture, and with Jackson being in the truck, high fuel prices are not ideal. So he would probably support policies that made his fuel cheaper. Anyway, I cut into you when you were talking about fuel prices.
Well, my point with the fuel was that we've actually hit a point, because for a long time, everyone's like, it was when fuel first really jumped, and all the truckers were like, whatever, we'll just raise our rates, and it doesn't make a difference to us. We're still going to make the same. And that was true for a long time, but we hit whatever the barrier was, we hit it. And now it's no longer like, we'll keep raising our rates. Like, they did all they can do now. And so now, not only are the rates high for the producers, they're not going to get any higher. So any more fuel keeps jumping. Now it's starting to turn, and it's starting to come out of the truckers' pockets. And when that starts happening, you'll see how quick some of these not quite so financially stable trucking companies are going to fall apart because their profit margins. And we're lucky that we're in the livestock industry and in the agriculture world because it's very needed for food. But really watching the van trailer freight, the flatbed freight it's really starting to fall off because they're just like, one, the economy's slowing and then prices are high and they're like, we can't pay this. We just can't. There's no demand for the product anymore. And sorry. So the rates are, and so then the trucking companies go, well, okay, well, what will you pay? And all of a sudden it starts to become this race to the bottom now. And we're a little bit shielded from that in agriculture, thankfully. But it's gonna be rough the next couple of years. You're gonna see a lot of these outfits that came into the trucking world the last couple of years because everything was so good. You're gonna see a big exodus. So yeah, I don't know. Just keep on rolling for now. I got that load. It came through tomorrow over in Plains, Montana. If any of you have been to Plains, Montana, you get a gold star because ain't many people been to Plains, Montana.
Where is Plains, Montana?
You go to Missoula, out on I-90, out in western Montana, and then there goes this might be the end of our YouTube feed. YouTube, you're probably they're gone.
You'll have to.
I kind of got to tell them goodbye.
Did you not charge the battery?
No, I did. I think I got a bad battery on that camera. Like it's not as healthy as it's supposed to be.
Huh.
So, and if that battery can't hold up, just imagine how No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, Plains. Yeah, it's so from Missoula you go out to western Montana on the 90. A lot of you know Missoula from traveling through. You go north towards Kalispell, but before you get to Kalispell, you got to cut off on a little windy 2-lane road. You head out there. It's just a little speck on the map, kind of a mix of, logger type folks with ag folks and just a little everything out there.
I think the name of it's deceiving.
Very deceiving. You think it's like Kansas, right? Like the golden wheat fields of Plains, Montana. No, it's a lot of up and down, and it's kind of in a little valley, kind of cut down, and it's very not Plains type.
Yeah, I would think eastern Montana.
Okay, you ready? Sorry for this. It's not a plain town. Did you get it?
No.
Dang it.
Like a boring.
Like the geography is not plain in Plains. Man, I deliver the newest low every episode. You're like, this is the new comedic low for the podcast.
I'm sitting here going through every possible way in my mind of the humor in that, and it'll probably hit me tonight, laying in bed.
Oh, and the YouTubers all missed out. Maybe, I can get him to just extend the audio into a black screen so they can at least hear that failed attempt at humor.
So I'm trying to think anything new. I think I'm about to start working at the jail again, not the prison where I worked.
Yeah, I think last time you said you were you'd sent the contract back for a few tweaks, kind of still in holding there.
This is one of the problems, which I'm almost to bail on it.
CCJ, Cascade County Jail. Another 3-letter acronym.
Well, here's the thing. Oh, no, it's CCJ.
Cascade County Jail.
Yeah, the problem is they contract out all their health care.
Oh, okay.
So they don't hire. But who they contracted with is a national company.
Uh-huh.
And so on the local level, when they're like, well, we're going to have to talk to corporate.
How about your little changes you made? Come on.
I'm realizing that anytime the word is talk to corporate, I feel like I need to go talk to my hand or something. I don't. That's just,
right.
I need to. I think I'm out.
Yeah.
But, so I don't know if that. I'm just waiting, and I contact thanks for reminding us. It'll be there tomorrow, and then 4 days later it's not, and then I contact the local people, and they're freaking out because
they
don't have health care locally. They're disgruntled inmates are more difficult inmates, which is...
I smell a prison riot
starting. I have a couple prison things I think I'm going to talk about at the end of this episode. One is going back to regulation. And California, when they instituted COVID vaccine mandates for all state workers, it's probably been a couple years now, extremely strict about it. You're vaccinated or you're fired. And
Yeah.
the prison workers in California for the state said, all right, cool, we're out.
Oh, they did?
Said, yeah, we're not doing it. We're out. And so California said, well, I think we're going to mandate vaccines for everybody in the state that works for the state except prison workers.
Which is so random. You're like, huh. So if they did it, oh man, there's a lesson to learn there.
So it was, in fact, yeah, I'm going to tell a little story about that.
Okay.
So I worked in the prison in Shelby for roughly a year and a half. My dental office got closed down for COVID. I got this offer at the prison in Shelby, like almost to the day that our office shut down. So I did that, and I was working in the prison through COVID. Once my dental office was allowed to open up my private office, I worked part-time in there and stayed full-time at the prison because I just wasn't convinced that we might not go through another shutdown at some point.
Yeah.
Having that stability. But the prison, we had, when COVID finally came to prison,
Because for a long time you had no cases, right? It was kind of...
no cases. We had no cases in the prison in Shelby. Even though it was really ramping up around the state, we still had no prison cases in the prison. And then at that point, this was before President Biden signed the executive order saying that no federal inmates or detainees could be housed in private prisons. It's a private prison in Shelby. Before he signed that, we were housing federal detainees. And what this means is in the state of Montana, there are no federal detention centers. There's no federal prisons, no federal holding places. And so the federal government contracts with someone in Montana to house anyone here in Montana that is being held, tried, or waiting for sentencing in a federal offense, which is different from the state prisons or the prison in Shelby, which contracts with the state for state inmates. So before Biden signed that executive order in Shelby at the private prison there, the Department of Justice contracted with this private prison, and that's where not all of them, but the majority of federal detainees were held there. And so the U.S. Marshals are the ones who handle all the transport and the moving, coming, and going of federal detainees. And so they would be moved around within Montana from basically, it seemed like down in Yellowstone County, Billings area, Cascade County, Great Falls, and then over in Missoula. The county jails there housed some of the federal detainees, and they would rotate between those county jails and the private prison where I was at, based off of court appearances and whatever else. But we would also get detainees from other states would come through at times and then be moved out, constantly.
So there was definitely a flow of
in and out.
people in and out.
And so the U.S. Marshals sent a detainee from Nevada into our facility that was COVID positive. And they knew he was COVID positive, but they didn't tell anyone.
Really?
And it was about 16 hours before a review of his medical history. There was a weird notation on it that had never been seen by our medical staff. And so after some investigation, it was actually a COVID positive. So so as much as the federal government is mandate this, mandate that, the federal government took a COVID positive patient, put him on a plane with other officers and other detainees in a plane, in a little plane.
Jeez.
Unloaded him in Great Falls into a little van with other detainees and officers, drove him to our facility into a little room with medical staff for entrance processing, officers, other detainees, and then him into a cell with 1 to 3 other guys. And then 16 hours later, it was found out he was COVID positive. The U.S. Marshals didn't tell anyone. They knew he didn't tell anyone. And from that one person, it was like a COVID bomb.
Boom! Just exploded.
Like,
everyone everywhere.
almost, I mean, just within days, I mean, everyone in the whole prison COVID. So anyway, within the prison, you have it's in Shelby, which is Toole County. So you have Toole County Public Health, who says this is COVID protocols for the county.
Oh, and they fall under the county, right?
We're in the county.
Yeah.
You had the Federal Department of Justice has COVID protocols for detainees. The CDC has COVID protocols for prison settings. State of Montana Public Health has COVID protocols. And the Montana State Prison System had COVID protocols. So essentially we have 5 streams of this is what you do for COVID. Oh. And as anyone who has paid attention to all the COVID stuff over the past while, yeah, it's all a bunch of craziness. So you have 5 streams and none of them are the same.
And they all change too. They all
so these 5 different streams of you have to do this for COVID in a prison or in this county, in this state. You have 5 different streams and they're not the same, but in the prison setting, we have to institute all of them. Even though some of them are, I mean, they completely cancel each other out. They make the other one completely useless. But here's why in the prison setting you have to do it, because if you have an inmate in any situation that dies in prison, almost immediate lawsuits from family, from wherever, suing, whatever you did there is what caused the inmate to die. So if you look and go, oh man, you know, we've instituted 4 out of these 5. This 5th one, you know, when you walk through the door every morning, you know, if you don't spin around in a circle 10 times and cough, you know, that doesn't make sense. We're not going to institute that.
Right.
Well, if the family finds out, oh, you didn't institute Toole County's public health, even though you're doing these other 4, they're like, that's the reason they died, because you were not following. So in that prison setting, you have to do every single thing. On a private prison, this is extremely important. State prisons or federal penitentiaries, because they're the government,
they can just kind of...
There can still be lawsuits, there can still be these things, but it's very different than a private prison. So we are just clown show of COVID stuff in the prison. And we went through our huge COVID burst in there, without a doubt the most concentrated COVID place in the state of Montana was that prison. And we got through it, and we got to the point where we hadn't had any COVID cases for a long time. And then we started having the OSHA started instituting COVID protocols.
Because that's how they started pushing mandates later.
And
right?
it was just weirdness. And I finally said, you know what? Yeah, I'm done.
You had to bail.
So I just sat down and said, look at.
So you just walked in and quit?
I will not comply with COVID protocols anymore.
Who do you tell this to?
I told it to the head of medical and the warden.
The warden?
Well, first I told it to head of medical, who reported to the warden, who called me into his office, who I told again.
So is this like on the movies where like you're in this very clean, you know, prison, and you go in the warden's office and it's like oak tables and all this lavishness? Is it like that in real life?
The warden in there was very Spartan.
Oh, really?
Former Marine.
Okay.
I mean, he's pretty legit, but just straightforward. Anyway, so I said, yeah, I'm not complying with COVID protocols anymore. I'm like, well, you know, maybe you don't need to wear a respirator full time, but how about a mask? I'm like, no, I'm not doing anything. Okay, you don't have to get vaccinated.
Wait, they wanted you to wear a respirator?
That was one of the things that OSHA had put in there.
A
respirator. Full time, anytime you're in medical, respirator. I was in there 10 hours a day.
Because you're right.
Respirator 10. Nope, I'm not doing it. And I hadn't been wearing a mask for months. I mean, I think I'm over it. But this was too far. I said, I'm done. I said, and they go, what do you mean? I go, look, imagine 2.5 years ago what it was like for the dentist in here. I said, that's what I will do. I'm not
Well, they could-
testing
and-
unless I have symptoms. I'm not just doing random. I'm not doing testing every week. I'm not being vaccinated. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not wearing plastic dresses. I'm not doing I'm nothing. I'll come in and do dentistry. Cool, I'm good to go. And it took them about a month. They couldn't figure it out. The warden called me in, sat down. What's going on? I said, I'm good. I'm good to be a dentist here, but I'm not doing this. He goes, and what do you say? Oh, what do you think? You're going to start a revolution in here?
What?
With the staff?
What?
I said, no. I said,
You're like, no, I
said,
just
this is for me. I'm not doing it.
care what you do. Everybody else does this.
I said, to tell you the truth, this is never going to end until we say it's over.
Yeah.
Because we're just going to keep having stuff put on us until we say it's over. He goes, you really think that's true? I go, let me tell you a story about California. And so then I told him about which California had like some of the most unbelievably strict craziness.
So you told the warden this story.
Told the warden, I said, hey, California instituted all these, and the prison officers, they all said, yeah, we're not doing it. Well, you can fire us. What is the state going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, what are they going to do?
What's the state going to do? You're going to
turn them loose?
Turn them loose. You can't just go bring people in to be officers. I mean, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Just like you can't bring people in to be truckers.
Yeah. Oh man.
And he didn't know that. And I said, so if I did want to start a revolution, warden,
will you join me?
I said, this is what would happen. If people were like, yeah, he's right. We're not going to wear masks. We're not going to do this. I go, you guys would have a meeting and go, actually, Montana doesn't have a mask mandate in general, so we don't need one anymore.
See, that was the thing. We never had a mask mandate. You're right.
But that's what would happen.
Yeah.
That's what would happen. But anyway, so then they ended up saying, well, we need to ask for your resignation.
Oh.
I said, nah. I said, I'm not resigning. I'm good to work.
So you just kept holding your ground.
I said, I'll keep working. I'm not resigning. I said, I don't do COVID anymore. Like I just don't do COVID anymore. And,
so you pretty much said you can fire me or let me do dental work.
Yeah.
And
I was terminated, which I fully knew
that's where it was going.
If I took that stance, that's what would happen.
But isn't it just crazy now, especially now looking back in hindsight, like all that deal, all the healthcare you were providing, all up in smoke over that. And when you go, you guys,
and let me tell you this, about 2 months later, they lifted all the COVID restrictions in the prison.
It's crazy. The U.S. Marshals bring in COVID. They end up firing you. And then 2 months later, they're like, okay.
Now, another interesting thing. Did you see New York? I don't know if this was today. It was this week. The Supreme Court in New York ruled that they have to, I think it's the state, has to hire back everyone they fired for COVID firings and back pay institution.
Ooh,
the Supreme Court.
Rough. On top of all the wages they paid out to the people that replaced us, they got to go back.
So I don't know. Maybe I should pull out my termination letter and hire an attorney.
Because well, here's the thing I always admired about it, and you don't have to disclose if you don't want what your pay was at the prison, but it was good. I mean, it's good pay. They don't get a dentist to travel up there and do work for nothing. And I remember when all this went down, I was, and the whole COVID thing, you do what you want. You make your decisions, research, and make the best choices for yourselves. And that was kind of always my thought on it, rather than one side mandating the other back and forth. Just make your choices and do your thing. But I always admired how you walked away from a lot. I mean, a really good amount of money back into the unknown because, your dental office was kind of going again, but that was a big, solid, foundational amount of money that you could count on that you went, I would rather go back into the unknown than have you force all these things that I just don't feel are right for me. So I always thought that was pretty dope.
Yeah. Well, and now I'm about to. So now the difference is it's the Cascade County Jail where I would be going to work now, not the state prison. And it would just be 1 day a week.
Yeah.
They just we talked about this last time.
Just
pain and infection under control. But again, it's a
The
corporate
bureaucratic
entity that I'm
Yeah.
just navigating the.
It's, it's funny because from a trucking standpoint too, and it's funny because these are so far apart, but when you haul like a load of cattle to a farmer in Nebraska, he's like, all right, let me go grab my checkbook. You're like, cool. You haul like a brokered load of freight off a load board from some company back east that has a load in California. You're like, how do I get paid? Well, you need to submit this and you didn't submit that. And you're like, no, farmers and guys in Nebraska literally just pay you for the work you do. It's just it's very simple. Why do we got to have all in it? That's no different in the dental prison world. Interesting.
I have a lot of patients who knew that I worked in the prison for that while, and if I hadn't seen them for a bit and they come back in and, oh, you're not at the prison, and I always say, nah, I got fired.
They kind of like, what?
Got fired, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, yeah. There's really only two ways you can get fired as a medical worker in a prison. I said one is if you smuggle drugs for inmates, it'll get you fired, and the other is if you develop a romantic relationship with an inmate, you'll get fired.
That's what you tell them?
I had to look at him and go, which one do you think got me fired?
Dude, some of them probably, you're pretty good at selling stuff like that, so some of them probably...
I'll give you a hint, it wasn't drugs. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, anyway, man, let's wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
Steady at the Wheel podcast at gmail.com. If you would like to reach out via email, Steady at the Wheel podcast on Instagram. Jackson gave you his YouTube at the beginning. So there's probably very few of you who didn't listen to the beginning that are still listening now.
So we can forego that. Save me the breath.
So right on. We do appreciate the support. We enjoy hearing from people. So appreciate it.
Yeah.
Keep listening. If there's anything you want us to touch on, talk about, reach out and let us know, and we will work to get to it.